and welcome back. I'm Jen, the Harbor Stitcher, and this is my channel all about cross stitch. I want to start out just saying welcome and thank you to all of those who have watched my first 3 videos. This is Flosstube number 4 and it's Sunday, August 20th. I so appreciate those of you who have watched the previous videos, left such kind comments, and are back again. If you're just finding me, welcome. I hope that you'll see something that you like and a reason to stick around. This week we're going to just kind of dive into things, but I wanted to start out with a little bit of just a pause and ask everybody to really keep a lot of our different communities in their thoughts and prayers. As we all know, there was the awful fires in Maui that so many are going to have to, not only recover financially and with their homes, but also emotionally. So let's just keep all of them in our thoughts and prayers. We have Hurricane Hillary that is coming up the west coast through California today and into tomorrow, and let's just hope for the best that the flooding isn't as bad as they're expecting it to be in some areas. And then we have one that's touched close to home for me. We have the wildfires burning in eastern Washington. There's a gray fire that is burning in the Medical Lake area, and there's the elk fire that's burning north of Spokane. The elk fire is about 15 miles from my in-laws, so we're hoping that the winds stay as they are and that they can get that fire contained before it moves any further. The gray fire is, as I said, Medical Lake, which is kind of southwest of Spokane. It's in the Spokane Valley. That one broke out Friday night. It has burned already 9,500 acres, is 0% contained, and unfortunately, someone that I consider a niece, it's the daughter of some of our closest friends, her and her boyfriend's home was impacted. It was burned yesterday morning. They've lost everything. They're 2 young adults who are working full-time and in school and are going to have to start completely over. Thankfully, they have renter's insurance, so that will come through, but as we all know, that can sometimes take, with insurance claims, a while to get those payouts. They are slated to start back for the fall quarter of school in 2 weeks. Their laptops, everything has burned. They truly lost everything when I say that. They had the clothes on their back and they got out with their cars. Luckily, they've got great family in the area to stay with. However, in the rebuilding, there is a GoFundMe set up to help them get some of those necessities they need before insurance kicks in. So I would ask that you keep everybody in those areas in your thoughts and prayers, and if you even have $5 or $10 that you can spare, I will have the GoFundMe link in the box down below and would truly appreciate it. Every little dollar will help these kids get back on their feet. So now that I've started with something that's a little bit more on the downer side, but I know the resiliency of people, and I just hope that we can continue to pull together as communities to help everyone that's affected by these things going on in the world. Now I will jump into a little bit of a life update. Since I was here 2 weeks ago, we had the opportunity to attend a wonderful event last Saturday. It was a barbecue for the Gig Harbor Suicide Prevention Coalition. It was put on in the backyard of some friends of my parents. Gorgeous property overlooking the water. They had a band come in. It was just a fun, a hot dog barbecue, but for a wonderful cause. And to see the amount of people that turned out and donated and helped not only raise funds, but raise awareness for mental health and suicide prevention was an amazing opportunity. So we did that last Saturday, and then I immediately left for a 1-week work trip to Wisconsin. I was in Madison, Wisconsin for the week for a conference and also visiting one of our studios there. It was a really great week. I learned some interesting things about Wisconsin. Got my fill of cheese curds. I will say if you are an old-fashioned drinker, which I am, Wisconsin's an interesting experience for those. Apparently Wisconsin has their own version of old fashions, and it took me a little bit to figure that out and understand exactly how I needed to order one in order to get one the way I expect. I guess it's a coast thing. So East Coast, West Coast, we have traditional old fashions. They put soda in them in Wisconsin, and they make them with brandy. So very different experience, but hey, I had one like the locals. I tried it. Can't say it was my favorite. And then moved on to figuring out how to get what I wanted from it. While I was there, I also, there was one day where we had a little bit longer lunch break at the conference, and so I snuck away and made a little trip to Lynn's of Madison, which is a local, it's not just needlework. They actually have all sorts of art supplies in there, and it was a wonderful shop. Lynn was there. She was lovely to talk with, and the one other shopper that was in the store was also from the Northwest. She was from Oregon, and it was funny. We were discussing how we don't have a shop like this where there was so much fabric. I mean, there's R&R, there was Lakeside Linens, there was all of these things that you hear about, but we don't have anywhere to touch and feel and look at them. And so it was just funny that in the middle of Wisconsin, it was two Northwest cross-stitchers fabric shopping. So that was a lot of fun, and I will show you some of what I got when we get to the haul portion. I also FaceTimed my mom from there to say, hey, look where I am. Do you need anything? And the ladies in the shop were giggling as I was FaceTiming with my mom. She was like, oh, pull that one out. What's that color? And I was laying things out while shopping for her. So it was a very good trip, and I was excited to get to visit another needlework store that's not just here in the Northwest. Like, we have Threadneedle Street, which is my LNS, and then Acorns and Threads south of us. So it was fun to go see another one. Also, you may notice a slight set change. Due to those fires that I've mentioned that are in eastern Washington, our skies are very cloudy, or I guess smoky, kind of turning out the sun. It looks cloudy, it smells, but it's made the lighting very strange. And so this was the only way I could figure out how to get good lighting today, was by shifting. For my lovely viewer who on I think my first video mentioned that I needed to get rid of the coat that was hanging and kind of freaked her out and looked like a man coming in the room behind me. It's directly behind me now. I promise it's not a coat, or like it's not just a random hanging coat or a man coming in the room. Please don't be scared. It is a lamp that my son made, and he found an old sewing mannequin, wired it into a lamp, and it sits behind me with one of, it's a jacket from one of the games we launched at work that sits on it. So it is right behind me. If you slightly see it, if I move, I'm sorry. I hope not to freak you out today. I'd also like to thank the Pink Stitchers. I just watched your latest video yesterday. I know you had messaged me on Instagram and you were like, you're in Wisconsin, and I didn't have time to get there, and meet you or find a way to meet in the middle. Next time I visit our studio, we will figure that out. But I watched your latest video and you gave such a great shout out. Thank you for mentioning me, and I'm so glad that you could learn from my technical errors last time, and it prevented you guys from having a larger technical problem on your videos, and that you caught it sooner than I did. But with all of that said, let's jump in to my WIPs this week. I have 4 projects that I've worked on in the last 2 weeks. With traveling to the conference, I didn't get as much stitching time as I normally do, but you know, I've got a decent amount of progress on things to have enough to show you today. So the first one is Give Greatly by Silver Creek Samplers. I think many people have seen this one because I believe Primrose Cottage, Mom from Primrose Cottage, did a stitch along with this one a few months back. This was one of my 12 days of Christmas starts this last year. So over the 12 days leading up to Christmas and to New Year's, I did a start a day, and this was one of them that I started then, but I hadn't really picked it up much since then. But since it's stitched on 25 count Lugana, I thought it was a great travel project to take with me this week. And here's where I am. That shows the blue pretty good. This is actually a really fun stitch. I as you can see, I've got the snowman all outlined, so now he's just going to be some quick fill-in. We've got the bunny. I have his adorable little sweater to start on now. And then we'll just have the words in the sled left to go. This one I'm stitching on 25 count steel blue Lugana. You can see that the model was stitched on a neutral, and I decided to go with the blue. Gives it a little bit of a different look, a little bit more wintry, because I love to use blues for winter. So this is a 25 count steel blue Lugana, 2/2, and using all of the called for. So as you can see in the snowman, you can kind of see this shading here. This is White Lightning by Weeks, and it has that gray and white, so it'll give him a little bit of texture throughout. So that was my first one, and that was what I did some hotel stitching on while I was on that work trip. My next project, I continued working on 5 o'clock by Ink Circles. Ooh, this new setup has me in a weird direction. This one is so fun. It really is. Each little drink is its own motif to finish, and having a good time. My husband and I were joking, and I'll ask you your opinion. We've been trying to figure out what each of these cocktails are. Let me get it to focus here. This is the one though. I can't figure out what that's supposed to be. Is that a White Russian? Other than that, I can't think of a drink that would have the dark and the white together. I can place everything else but that one. So if you have guesses, leave it for me down in the comments. I would love to know what you think that one is. And here's where I'm at. Ooh, that is washing out the fabric a little bit. Let me see. This light, that's pretty true, I guess. This is a beautiful green. This is 18 count jade from Picture This Plus. And like I said, this one is fun because every one of these little drinks is a finish. We've got, I'm calling it a tequila sunrise. We'll see. A pina colada, a margarita, and this will be a mojito once I get the mint stitched out the top and bottom. These seem to be little pearl onions. And then we've got olives and pickles and cherries. So we're getting all of the garnishes in there, and this will be wonderful when it's done. I'm so excited. I love working on this, and I do plan to keep working on this one a little bit more this week. And then this needle minder that says Always Happy Hour. That is from Black Needle Society. I don't know what box of theirs it was in. I got it in their vault a while back, and I just thought it was perfect for this project. Next, I did do some work on my Heaven and Earth design, my full coverage piece. I am doing Bonded by the Rain. Love the colors in this. It matches a large framed piece of art that we have in our formal dining room, so this one will be joining that in there. But it's massive, and it won't be joining it anytime soon. This one's going to take me a number of years. This is where I'm at. So I just continued working on these diagonals here. You can start to see some of the different colors pulling out. I am stitching this 1/1 on 25 count Easy Grid Lugana, using all of the DMCs. As of now, I am at 0.9%. So I haven't even hit 1% complete. That's why I say this is a multi-year project. I did get 723 stitches put into it though last week. So it was a good dent. It was a good amount of progress right here. And I'm just going to keep this one in my rotation and doing a little bit of work on it every 2 weeks, and just keep plugging away at it. I will say, the way that I know how many stitches I do, I'm not a stitch counter. usually, but this one I have loaded in Markup RXP so that I can easily, you know, have it highlight the symbols and know where I'm stitching. It's the Apple alternative to Pattern Keeper, and so far I'm really enjoying it, and that's how I know how many stitches and what percentage I'm at. That is the only one I'm doing in there right now, so I won't have stitch counts on anything but full coverages that I stitch on. And the final project, this one, I mean, honestly, I can't really say it was a WIP this week. I only stitched on it for one evening, but it got stitches, so I will share it, and that is Summer Quaker. I think a lot of people now have seen this. Some people are so far along, and I think I even saw one person on Instagram who's finished this, which kudos to you. I'm guessing you're a monogamous stitcher because this is a really big piece, but it's gorgeous. I am stitching this one on 36 count ledger by Stitch Me. So on the 36 count, I'm doing 1/2, and I'm using all of the called for DMCs. There are 2 hashtags going with this one. One is Live in the Sunshine Sal with the Huga Stitcher, and the other is Summer by the Shore Sal from Laura with Stitching by the Shore. So there are 2 hashtags. If you're stitching this, make sure you're following both of those and participating and seeing everyone's progress. Here's where I'm at. I will also say, sorry, nothing is ironed. My iron has decided it's possessed by the devil. It's spitting brown stuff out. It's fairly new, and it's also leaking water from down by the cord. So I've decided it's probably not safe when water's coming out the electrical parts, and need to order a new one. So that is why nothing's ironed right now, and I apologize. I know this one's very wrinkled, but I was able to work in this flower and heart and start this Quaker motif right here on the day that I worked on it. And this is another one I'll probably keep out through the month of August and do a little bit more work on it, and then it might get put away just because it is more summer focused and it'll be time to start on some fall stitching. Those were my WIPs for the last 2 weeks. I can't say that I know what my plans will be outside of some more of 5 o'clock and maybe a little bit more of Summer Quaker. I'm kind of stitching what I feel like, and a lot of things are calling me right now. So we'll just see. No real plans. We'll just see what happens to come up in the next 2 weeks that I feel like grabbing out. I do have another work trip coming up, not this week, but the following week I'll be in LA. So probably I'll pull back out Give Greatly, because that's great fill-in for on the plane and in hotel rooms. But yeah, those would be my WIPs and my plans. Next, I just have a little bit of haul to show, and then I need your advice on something. And it's about a fabric. So I will go through my haul and then ask for your help. Haul. Let me start here and say that some of this is Gary at Garon Stitchery's fault. I had not planned to do much shopping or have much haul while I waited for Needlework Marketplace and just seeing what all was going to come out. There's so many new releases that people are putting out that my list is growing and growing and growing. So I was trying not to overindulge before that. But I believe it was week before last, Gary had some time on his hands and he filmed 3 stash dive videos. They were fantastic. They got me looking at some old charts and some that I'd never seen and got me excited. So I was building a list, but the entire time I was watching him, there was a piece hanging over his shoulder and it was so cute, and I actually screenshotted it and I showed it to my husband and he loved it too. And so I had to go on the hunt for it. And that piece was a Sociable Scarecrow by Glendon Place. Let me see. I mean, that is so fantastic, and seeing the finished piece hanging behind Gary in all those videos, I knew I had to have it. Well, this pattern is from 2009, and I couldn't really find many places that had it, but I did find it at Cobweb Corner on their website. Just through a Google search, that was one of the shops that pulled up. Actually, I think there's only 2 shops that pulled up that had it. Cobweb Corner had it, and they also had, oops, where did it fall to? The entire, can I get that? Just Another Button Company button pack for a Sociable Scarecrow, because his nose and other pieces are buttons. Oh, it looks like the buttons on his jacket and some of the leaves. So I was able to find this. I'm super excited. While I was looking at their site, and of course I was in the Glendon Place portion of their site because I was looking for that. I happened to see that they had floss packs for Sir Thomas. And if you watched my kit parade, you saw that I have Glendon Place, Sir Thomas, all kitted except for the rainbow galleries. So I had everything, all the DMCs and those that were called for. Well, Cobweb Corner had this amazing thread pack of all of the rainbow galleries needed for Sir Thomas. So obviously I needed to get that. What a quick and easy way to have them all in one place. And so it was a nice full Glendon Place order from Cobweb Corner. I placed it on a Sunday night. They shipped it Monday morning, and I had it in days. I mean, the customer service and how quickly they shipped that, I will definitely be shopping on their site more often and from their store. This is going to sound silly. I didn't research or look much further. I don't know if they are an LNS, like if they have a brick and mortar store, or if they're only online, but they had a great selection and they shipped so fast. So we'll definitely be shopping from them some more. After getting those, I behaved. I do have a cart going at 1-2-3 Stitch, but I have not pulled the trigger. I'm just building a cart. But I placed that and I thought I'm going to be good. And then I got to Madison and I made it to Lynn's Madison. I picked up some fabric and 2 charts, which that's not bad. Not bad. I didn't really need any charts, but I figured while I'm here I may as well. They happen to have Americana red. I think a number of people, I know Alicia from Fanciful Flamingo and a few other people have already completed this. I'm still debating whether I'm going to do this in red or a blue. As you can see, now that the camera's turned, I have an entire wall here that, my Sorta Sweet, Sorta Beth Dutton, which way is right there. So some of my snarky pieces are going to go here, but I have an entire wall I can put stitching on, and I'm trying to decide if I want red or blues. So, if you know of anybody who has stitched this as blue, please let me know in the comments. I would love to see it finished up as a blue or some other color besides red and see what it looks like. But with all of the little stitching elements, this is definitely one that will be going here in my sewing room. And I don't know when I'll start it, but I got it. And then I also picked up, I love the Drawn Threads patterns, but I had not seen this one before. I picked up Deck the Halls because my husband and I, cardinals mean a lot to us whenever I see cardinals on a chart. And we also love kind of classic Christmas. So, let me get that clear. I picked up Deck the Halls by the Drawn Thread. That one is beautiful. I don't think it'll take long to start. The one thing it is called for is Dinky Dye Silks for all of the colors. I don't own any Dinky Dyes and I've never stitched with Dinky Dyes, so I don't know if I'll keep it as that and this will be my experiment because there are only 5 colors. Maybe that's a great way to try them out and start them, or if I'll convert it to something else. We will see when I get there. So those were the 2 patterns that I picked up at Lynn's of Madison. Next, I had to get some fabric. Like I said, don't always see them, so when I was able to see, touch, and just admire, I had to come home with some. This one is one I could have gotten anywhere, but you know, I was there, so why not? And this is a 32 count Petty Point raw white dot. I picked this one up because I recently ordered a bunch for a Christmas chart I had that calls for this. And I guess I wasn't paying attention when I ordered. Late night online shopping is probably not a good idea. I ordered it all as the gray Petty Point. So I have plenty of gray for future projects, but I needed the raw. Now I have it, and I didn't need to pay for shipping. It came back in my suitcase. I also picked up, so she had just received a large order of Picture This Plus linens. She said it was an order she had placed over a year ago, and they had just come in, which, lucky me. They were all sitting on the table, hadn't been priced or cut. They were big 1-yard cuts. She was willing to cut down as needed. The other gal that was there was grabbing some beautiful, beautiful pieces. I finally got to see Heroic and Ancient in person from Picture This Plus. Love them both. I know I need them, but the only size she had was 40 count, and that was not happening. So I'll have to find them in another count somewhere, but at least now I know what they look like in person because they've been on my, kind of caught my eye. I was wondering what the modeling and the colors really looked like. They're gorgeous. So I will be finding those, but I did get a piece of 32 count Bramble. I have stitched on a Bramble Ada, but I hadn't seen the linen. So I did pick up this piece of 32 count. On the linen, I would say, I don't know if it's showing, it's kind of a mushroom color to me in this modeling and in what's showing. Maybe a cross between like a mushroom and an oyster shell. Actually, maybe oyster shell is a little bit closer because there's some grayish purple. The Bramble I had in Ada was definitely a gray or purple color, but this is gorgeous. What a great neutral for things. I'm excited to have that. And then I have heard, if you watch any Flosstube, you hear about Lakesides. This was my first time feeling, seeing, buying Lakeside. This is a 32 count vintage sand dune from Lakeside Linen. And it is gorgeous. You can see this really soft modeling. It's kind of a gold with some brown, but very soft. It's gorgeous. I was thinking about doing the Scarecrow on it. However, once I pulled the floss, the jacket is Schneckly and a couple others from Weeks, and they were just too close to this. They would have been lost. And because I love this piece so much, I don't want to change any of the colors. So this one will just be for another project in the future. That's totally fine. And I also picked up a piece. I have no idea what I'll use it for, but it was gorgeous and it couldn't be left behind in the store. It just needed to come home. And this is a piece of 32 count Lakeside Linen vintage cedar plank. Let's see, there we go. It's gorgeous. It's a green gray with some darker grays, gray browns. Love it. Maybe a nice red, like a Christmas piece or something on this, but absolutely gorgeous. So I brought that home. I restrained myself. Those were the only 4 pieces of fabric that I did buy. However, as I said, I FaceTimed my mom and she needed a fabric. So after looking at about every blue we could find in there, and I still don't know exactly what piece she's doing on this. So I'll have to find out when I deliver this to her. This was one of the ones that had just come in, wasn't cut yet, but this is a 1/2 yard of 32 count Alchemy from Picture This Plus. And that is pretty true representation of it. Gorgeous blue-gray. And I think Mom will be really happy with it. She actually was saying this morning she couldn't wait to see her fabric in person, and, well, she couldn't have it till I filmed. So now I can run it over to her. Sorry, Mom. That was everything from my Lynn's of Madison shopping trip. I could have done so much more damage in there, but I had to think about suitcase space, which when you're at a conference, you also know there's a lot of swag that conference goers get. So I had t-shirts and socks and a backpack and other things that I had to fit in my suitcase that had been given to me by vendors at the conference, and had to think about how much I could really get home. But at least I brought home some Lakeside and a few goodies. And then the final piece of my haul is, of course, many of you know, and I hope all of you know, that Chris, the camping stitcher, has jumped headfirst into the world of designing. Chris is so wonderful. She's fun to do stitchy zooms with, and she's just so kind that to see her at the start of her retirement be able to unleash her creativity and have these amazing charts start coming out is so exciting to see, and I had to have them. After I bought these, she actually released a third one now that I'm going to have to go back and get, of course. But the first two are Stitcher's Prayer, the camping stitcher. And it says, "Now I sit down in my chair, my needle, floss, and fabric there. I stitch and calm my busy mind whenever I can find the time." Isn't that true? Stitching truly is how so many of us rewind or unwind, relax, and process. For me, it's also a processing time. Things going on in the world, things going on in my life. It's just quiet time to process it. So Chris, this one, amazing. The second one from her is called Stash Stitcher. Stash Stitcher. It's all stash once I add to cart. And you know what? When some of us have been in that Stitcher stash year, I love this motto. It is stash once I've added it to cart, so let's just keep adding to cart. No, really, I shouldn't. The funny thing is my mindset has been changing a bit to, I really need to stitch the things I have because I love them. But it's so hard to pass up when cute things come out. Both of these are going to be getting stitched soon and added to my wall in here. I say soon, who knows. Hopefully at least one of them in the next month or two. And then, last but not least, because I needed another Carolyn Manning in my life, I happened to see on Instagram that Cat Stitch, and that's K-A-T-T, Cat Stitch, was planning a year-long stitch-along of this Carolyn Manning. And I love it. The minute I saw it, I was like, and it's a year-long, I can keep up with that. I love this. It's called Halloween Hamlet. Is so cute, and I actually picked this up last night off of Carolyn Manning's site. She is having a flash sale right now. I believe I wrote it down so I could tell you. There's no date. I don't know if it ends today, which is Sunday the 20th, or if it's going longer. It was called a pop-up sale, and it was 20% off orders up to $50 and 40% off orders of $50 or more. So if you want to go snag this, I think it comes out to like $8 and something on her site for the PDF. But this is going to be the Halloween Hamlet 2023 stitch along with Cat Stitch, and I am going to be joining in. But this is where I need your help. This is stitched on Peaceful Purple by Witchell. The model is, and that's what's called for in it. I love it on the purple. I have the Peaceful Purple in my card at 123 Stitch. But I realized that I also have a piece of Murky that I've been thinking, what do I want to stitch on it? I knew I wanted a Halloween. I'm wondering. I pulled some of the colors last night. What I did is I looked at some of the greens. I should have kept them out, so sorry. I looked at some of the greens, and they all showed up really well on here. So I'm wondering, let's do a little poll in the comments. Murky or peaceful purple? Which do you think I should stitch this on? I have a month. The stitch along doesn't start until September 1st, so I have a month to figure it out, but I would love to know your thoughts. So please let me know down in the comments. And that's my haul. It was more than I thought it would be. In my last video I said I wouldn't have haul all the time, but you know, when in a place with an LNS, you shop. So, well, that is everything for this week. I'm going to try to keep to my normal 2-week schedule, and the next one will be right after I return from LA. So it'll be another come back from work trip and then film a Flosstube. But so fun to be here, so fun to share all of this with you. Again, thank you to everybody who has watched, liked, commented, shared. I really appreciate it. And thank you for all of those that'll put thoughts and prayers and just well wishes out into the world for those that are facing things through the fires, the flooding, the storms happening right now. We all do what we can when we see those things on the news. I know we've all probably donated or been part of relief efforts. I know we have for a number of natural disasters or things going on. When it hits close to home, like it is right now, and affects somebody that you love, it makes it so much more real. And we're just doing what we can as a friend group and a family, because truly they are friends, but they've become family to us over the last 10 years, to help these kids get back on their feet. And if you'll just keep them in your thoughts and prayers, we'd really appreciate it. Other than that, thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful stitchy 2 weeks, and I'll see you back here then. Take care. Bye-bye.